do you know what? Who normally asks to book those team buildings? The leader of the team. And it's just occurred to me on this podcast that that's interesting in itself. Like, it's seen within organisations that it's the leader's job to build a team, where I'm actually not sure it is. I think it might be the team's job to build a team, and the leader's job, where possible, to get out of the way.
Hello, I'm Chris Lisserman, and welcome to Sparks, a series by Interactive Workshops. In each episode, we talk about how we can spark something in work and life. From how to spark performance, to how to spark culture, to how to spark the office coffee machine so we get that good stuff. We're talking touchscreen.
LCD.
We're talking that little button you press. I want the Jonna, please.
I'm talking adjust the grind. Use the
coffee gavel. Yeah.
The thing.
Yeah.
The jug.
Can we just inject the caffeine straight into our veins?
I love it.
Perfect. Brilliant. We can spark that.
You can buy a coffee machine.
Yeah.
That's what I had to do to spark a coffee machine.
That sparked a lot of coffees, actually.
I had to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone has to buy it.
And you know what? It's full of beans.
It is full of beans.
And we're full of beans. Welcome back, Jonna.
I'm so full of beans, Chris, because New Gilet Day.
New Gilet Day. I
Yeah.
noticed that.
It's actually, I popped out my lunch break.
Yeah.
As you know, I have an extensive collection of gilets.
Yeah. And you've treated yourself.
I've treated myself because I felt that my other one was getting tired.
Okay, yeah.
So, my other main one. So, yeah. But unfortunately, when I've brought it back to the office and I'm wearing it, I feel like it may have slightly the colours of a retired person. And then I've had a flashback to my own father wearing this kind of colour when he got to a certain age. So
subconsciously, you've chosen.
Comments in the
Yeah.
thread below.
Yeah, let us know what you think of Jonna's new look. I'm glad, though, that you've kept that commitment to consistency. You're still in the gilet.
It's the perfect wear. Vented arms, one body. What more do you need?
What more do you need? Yeah, there you go. In this episode, Jonna, we're going to talk about how to spark teamwork.
Yes, Chris, yes. I am so happy because it is, as you know, surely one of my favourite topics. I do like sales, probably do like leadership, love, but I mean, teamwork. That's my entire life's work right there.
You've built a team. And you work in teams.
I have worked.
You work with teams.
I have worked trying to help people be better at teamwork for 25 years. And I don't think teamwork's that hard. Yet, it is hard. It's so hard.
Are we really in teams?
Well, this is the starting question, isn't it? Are we really in teams? What do you think?
Sometimes we're not, are we? We're in groups, so we're working by ourselves.
Well, the companies that I've worked with, like Airbus, BMW, Savills, Cisco, Slack. You go to those companies, the big ones, you go in and say, people say, hi there, I'm Chris, and I'm in this team. And what team are you in within the team? I'm in the marketing team within the sales and marketing team. Okay, and is the sales team part of the team? Yeah, that's in the whole company team. It's in the Americas team. It's in the UK team. And me and Chris, we also work together in a team. So there's a team of 2, there's a team of 5, there's a team of 50, there's a team of 100, and then you go on a training program. Should we be a team? Yeah, and then you go to the sports. Let's watch a team. It's a word that people use, and I think it's a bit like the Eskimos and snow. We use the same word, teamwork, to count 50 different situations, and that is the start point of the confusion of why people find it hard to work in teams. They're often not actually in teams.
Wow. So what you're saying is, despite calling ourselves a team, sometimes
we might
not be a team.
We can put the label team everywhere.
And yet, some groups, committees, collections, collectives...
Not a team.
Not a team.
Not a team.
So what is it that defines a team? How do you sort the groups from the teams?
That, Chris, is a fundamentally important question, isn't it? What do you think?
I think there's something about a team that has a sense of vulnerability, a sense of accountability to each other. Because if you're individually working, there doesn't need to be an accountability. Maybe to a manager, but not with each other. Whereas a team needs some of that accountability, I'd say. And not just being individually focused. Yeah,
I would liken it to the removal people that come to your house when you're moving houses. You've got a heavy dining table. How many people come to help you move?
There's probably a few, aren't there?
Yeah. If you can't do it on your own, that has the seed of the possibility of teamwork.
Yeah.
You may not be a team, but that's, in my opinion, that's what the start point for being a team is, can I do this on my own? Turned around, I can't do this on my own. So the heavy dining table, in fact, I've actually assembled an IKEA sofa that when I'm trying to open it, it had a picture of 2 people and it said, this must be assembled by 2 people. Do not try this on your own. Guess what happened to the sofa?
Did you attempt it on your own?
Yeah, guess what happened to it?
Didn't work.
I got most of it together, but because I couldn't lift all the bits at the same time and couldn't align everything, one of the bolts wouldn't quite fit, so I just tightened it more and more, and it basically ruined it. And it was always wonky, and it could never be taken apart again. So I guess that's my characteristic of teamwork. Things that require teamwork are things that cannot be done on our own. And that's where a lot of organizations, if you then look at the zeitgeist of how organizations work, there are 3 structures that organizations use to allocate their resources. Firstly, there's a top-down, hierarchical, kind of divisional type structure. Division of sales, division of marketing, division of product, division of technology. There's a system like Americas, Europe, APAC. Within that, sales, service, everything's divided down. Product lines, TVs, air conditioning. Samsung, they've got almost different companies for every different product line. So that's one structure. The second structure is the matrix, not Keanu Reeves, but a matrix structure where you've got a functional structure overlaid with lateral accountabilities. And do you know where this structure comes from, Chris? This is very interesting.
Where does it come from?
Have a think where this might come from, this matrix structure. It was invented by a certain type of people in the workplace.
Does it come from the same strain of thought as agile thinking?
No, it wasn't.
No.
It was invented by management consultants.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Helpful.
I'm going to suggest I think it was invented by McKinsey. So the matrix structure is where you've got both the vertical things you have to do and the horizontal. Doesn't that sound like a management consultant's solution to a problem that can't be solved?
Yeah. And and it doesn't solve the problem, really, does it? It's a structure that we can lean on, but
so a matrix
does it work?
You've got a manager on a vertical and a manager on a horizontal. Who has the problem of what to do now?
The employee, the person.
Yeah. Which manager to satisfy, which things to prioritize. So all that the matrix does is it takes the same challenges that we have of having too many things to do or too many projects or not enough clarity, and instead of resolving that strategically, it passes that problem down to the employee. I think employees are quite good at solving that problem actually, because it's you can solve it on the tangible, on the down low. Yeah. And then the third structure is a project team structure or a team structure, and that is visualized more as a circle with resources inside it, which the resources combine to do things. But the key thing there is that there aren't necessarily individual accountabilities driving straight down into that team structure to make the thing work. So that's your 3 structures. And obviously, depending on the ones you're in, teamwork easier or harder.
Yeah. And that's what we're touching on, isn't it? That teamwork can be complex. It's not just a silver bullet to use teamwork.
Well, it's like sticking the label on. Shall we solve this by teamwork?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Sometimes helpful.
Lift a heavy table?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Might be helpful.
What about design a new table?
Probably want to do that myself, actually.
Would you? Yes. Yeah. So some jobs are better done by an architect. Right? It's why in the design sphere, building a house, architecting a software, you might need individual architects. Actually, car designers, obviously genius designers, but there's one person often has the overall coherence and design.
Fashion can be like that as well. One person, a brand name.
Chris, I know nothing about fashion. So
well, your new gilet.
As you can see.
Yeah. Jack Wolfskin himself, he is the name to go to. For
other gilet brands available.
Not a sponsor. Yeah. So with those circles, should we call them, of what we might call teams, circles of people that maybe overlap. So you're in a team, but you might also work on something else with another group of people. Is that a good thing, that overlap?
Yeah, I think it is. And I think that's where, so in the hierarchical structure where organizational priorities are divided and dialed down to individuals, that really tempts you to also go the step of making sure that everybody has a specific individual job that they can do and only they can do, that they're accountable for, and that they're going to get the job done. So for example, in sales, that would be, you've got a specific target for that person, for you, that's it. And there's no joint accountability, and your pay and your success isn't based on whether the team achieves its target, just on whether you do. Can you see what might be created by that system that kind of doesn't promote teamwork?
Yeah, the individual focus.
Yeah.
It rewards the individual focus.
And you might get to the team's goal through that method as well. That's completely valid. But imagine if you're an astronaut on a mission to Mars, and it was set up like that you had your individual goals and other people had theirs, and as long as you achieved yours, it was a success. But don't worry about them. That might not be the healthiest lunar adventure.
No, and probably not the best adventure in our workplaces either.
That's what I'm
interested. A lot of the time,
and that's why I'm interested in workplaces, because in workplaces, I believe that people are there not just to get things done or do things or create things, but they're there for other reasons, sociological reasons like belonging, psychological ones like mental health, well-being, being challenged, being stretched. And to do that well, it is important to be in a caring and nurturing environment where you're appropriately challenged to excel, but supported to thrive. And again, I don't think that should be just by a boss to an employee. If you're really good at teamwork, it can be on a lateral level, that there's a collective responsibility and collective teamwork to get things done.
And where have you seen that in clients, where they've got a great team or they've brought a team together really well? Where have you seen that, maybe from your experience?
I think so many different places. I'm thinking of some engineering clients where it's a manufacturing environment and they're making widgets with machines, and they've got to make a certain amount, and they've created a team culture and they've created a team setup where people's accountabilities and jobs overlap. They can help each other. There's resource flexibility, all the way through to creative agencies, advertising agencies, where there's teams of creative people or account management. I've seen it in sales as well. Some of the sales teams we work with, they have a group goal with individual component of accountability, but also a group reward. And therefore, if you sell something or I sell something, it doesn't matter. Let's just sell the stuff, So there's lots of different organizations that are like that. And it's stimulating to go and work with people and leaders who can create that kind of thing. And I guess there's another part of what makes teamwork work is the relationship between whether there's a leader involved, to what extent their ego is driving the ship, and whether the leader is creating an environment where the possibility of teamwork exists.
It's interesting, isn't it? We've covered the idea of calling something a team, whether that makes it a team or not. Giving a group of people a leader also doesn't necessarily make it a team, and that leader has a responsibility to, as you say, create the environment, establish a working practice where a team can be, born,
emerge,
can rise, emerge, gel.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we run hundreds of team buildings, but do you know what? Who normally asks to book those team buildings? The leader of the team. And it's just occurred to me on this podcast that that's interesting in itself. Like, it's seen within organizations that it's the leader's job to build a team, where I'm actually not sure it is. I think it might be the team's job to build a team, and the leader's job, where possible, to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And I actually witnessed that. Now, I'm relating that to some of my work in team building and leadership development. But when I used to run a lot of leadership development, there's one particular program that I used to run a lot in Switzerland, and it was about 5 days, and it was a high potential leaders course. And we'd have about 20 people there. And most of the course was breaking them into different groups and getting them to lead different activities. But what I noticed was that in the case they didn't select a leader but decided to work on it together, quite often they performed more highly than the ones that had a leader. And there was one other thing that happened with the groups that had a leader, and that is that the leader themselves felt quite a lot of insecurity if the group didn't succeed. And I've actually had to sort of stay behind the class afterwards, even though it's just a training, with leaders whose team failed to make a wooden jigsaw in the right speed.
Because they're overcome with the significance
Sadness,
of failure.
A failure, yeah.
Wow.
And so and often those leaders, in trying to get team performance, would intrude on the natural group dynamics. And so it is a delicate balance in thinking about when to step in and when to step out as a leader, which problems you should engage with, trying to help solve, which ones you should allow the team to get on with.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that actually as a leader of our management team in our company, which are an excellent group of people who do excellent work. But I'm just never quite sure my place in that team actually, Chris. Now,
how much to step in,
how much to step in, how much to step back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
maybe you can give me some advice.
Yeah, I think it's something we can all think through, is how are we contributing to how much or how good a team that group is becoming in any team circle that we're in. What's our part in that? Are we contributing to the success, or are we thinking of it as the leader or the manager's job to bring about that success? We can be a more of a participant, I think, than a recipient.
Yes. Yeah. So we can be a recipient of team building.
Yeah.
Or we can be an enactor of team living.
Yes.
And if we each choose that, then we have the potential for the teamwork to be better.
Yeah, and actually we're coming back to that theme we've had as a running thread throughout the podcast of what does the other person want?
Oh, that's really interesting, Chris, isn't it?
What does the leader want? They probably want a team to come together. How can we make that happen?
Go on a team building.
Yeah.
We could go on a team building.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do people talk about on a team building?
Talk about the team.
Yeah. They talk about the blockers, don't they? And they talk about where they're trying to get to.
Yeah.
So I do think
often they want to share the problems, get those off their chest.
They want to share their problems.
Yeah.
So why do you think teams are so valuable to organisations? If we keep putting that label on it, it shows we might want people to be working in teams. Why do we think we prefer people to be in teams rather than a working group?
I think it comes back to a couple of things we've probably already touched on. Things like that commitment to each other. Are you just working on your own thing? That's okay. Individual focus, we all need that at times. But can you have a collective focus, maybe even a collective goal? Like the removal company coming in, there's a collective goal there, even with the tenant, to move all of the stuff successfully.
Without breaking it.
Without breaking it, yeah. So having that collective goal, that thing you're working on together, can you go together to get there?
Yeah, and what about the sparks that come from working with others? I think this is, I'm a people person. You'd never have guessed it. But I do think that I get a lot of sparks from working with other people. And I think that's also something that relationships are generative. So you and I have, there's you, there's me, and there's our relationship. When we come together, they sometimes call it the third person, but there's a thing we generate between us, which is our relationship, which exists as a living thing like we are. That's co-created by us, but is intangible. If we were to add another person, then we've got your relationship, my relationship, mine with them, then with yours, 3 relationships, but also this third thing, which is the teamwork that can emerge. And I guess that's the thing that is extremely valuable and we should carefully nurture, which is the intangible teamwork that can kind of grow as a team gets together.
Seems like lots of overlap with culture. A lot of what we talked about there. As soon as you have a team, there's a culture. And maybe if it's not a team, there's less of a culture. Is that fair?
Yeah. I guess I would think with the teamwork and culture, how many layers there are. So you can have a plain culture with a few layers. That's why I kind of find quite a lot of the hybrid working / let's all stay at home counterproductive to building a culture. It's missing some of the layers. It's missing the scent, the smell, the sweat, the
chemical of feeling
stuff.
Of being together.
Yeah. And also the shared narrative. We could all go out for a beer on Zoom still, couldn't we? But we don't anymore, do we?
No.
Why not?
Very fun, is it? It's not as good as the real thing.
No, exactly. But but with work, obviously, there's many benefits. But yet somehow, if we don't have that informal lunch and that informal coffee, and some people have found that through hybrid working, they're actually able to do that more. When they go to the office, they're more able to have the time because they remember that they're now there to connect with people. But it's just so important to have that dimension in our work. And I think those intangibles, that's partly what it makes. And then the other part is that working with other people is tricky, and it involves all kind of emotional thought processes, grace, generosity, motivating others, bearing with, going the extra mile. There's so many things we need to do to be effective with other people. And obviously, if you think about building a team, that is part of the secret sauce that makes for teamwork, which is that people are not trading, but they're prepared to give and receive, be generous, be kind, build something together, and that becomes incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
Incredibly valuable.
Yeah, that's really valuable for us as an organisation, and something we've used. I think we've used pods, we've used squads. So there's other things that you can turn to that don't have to be teams as well.
Yeah, I try to avoid anything that's ubiquitous. I try to avoid it. So we sometimes call things squads, don't we? And we've used pods, which is different arrangements of sizes of group of people. But the other part is you've got to think from a commercial point of view, what is the value of teamwork? And I think you can do that by a little bit like with employee engagement or culture. You could look at how effective those people are in terms of delivery if they were by themselves and individuals. But you could also look at how much you'd have to pay people if they're working in an environment that's not a benefit to them. It's not enjoyable. They're just working on their own.
Yeah.
You possibly have to pay them more to do the same work because they're not getting the same benefits. Whereas working in a team, if I want to go on holiday, guess what I can do?
You can go on holiday.
Yeah, because
teamwork.
Yeah, someone else is going to take
covered.
care of it. I'm going to be covered.
Yeah.
So if I'm working in a team, what happens if one of my kids is sick and I can't go into work today?
I think your team will cover you.
Yeah. What happens if I'm having a bad time at home and I need to take a day off?
Take the day off.
What happens if I don't quite get my work done and the deadline's coming?
You might use a bit of teamwork.
Yeah. So teamwork makes work so much easier if done well.
I'd never really thought about that because my team will come to me and say, "Can I take that day off?" Even someone saying, "Can I take it off this week?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Why is that so easy?"
Yeah.
And it's because of teamwork.
It's teamwork, yeah. And then they're effectively asking you to hold up your end of the table.
Yeah.
And you're saying, yeah, I'll hold that up.
Yeah.
I'll hold it up and reciprocate when you need that from me.
Yeah.
But then think also on the impact in our world. We're a client-facing business. Think about the impact on your clients because other people can get involved with them and help. You're no longer a single point of failure if you're away, ill, sick, whatever, or if you decide to go on maternity leave.
Yeah. I could do that.
Yeah.
But
or holiday.
Teamwork can make it happen.
Teamwork is the thing that can make it happen.
Yeah.
Sabbatical.
Teamwork can make the dreams happen.
There should be some kind of expression.
If there was an expression that was a bit more pithy than that.
Teamwork can really make dreamers successful.
Successful, yeah.
The dream of a team.
We'll keep working on it.
Is for the keen.
There we go. Teamwork can make the dream work. Oh, there we go.
No, I don't think that's not going to work.
No? Okay.
No one's ever going to remember that, Chris.
Forget about that one then. If someone listening or watching has got a team, maybe recently inherited a team or started a team, what can they do to spark it?
Oh, Chris.
If you're coaching them, what would you be?
Are they coming in from scratch to a new team?
Let's say they are, yeah. New team. What are the foundations?
Well, I think you've got to work like the MI6 infiltrator.
We'll get the intel.
If there's already an existing social system.
Right. You need to know how that works first.
I think it's sensible to seek first to understand and then to be understood. Stephen Covey, are you still with us?
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, I think, so they call it appreciative inquiry, but if you are going into a team, I think number one is you've got to try to understand before you try to influence. The other thing that I would suggest is to discount everything that people tell you.
Okay.
I have experienced this more than 500 times. When someone is going to a new group of people as an outsider, they're coming in new.
You're often an external.
Yeah, often.
Yeah.
People, especially senior HR people, start to tell you, Jonna, let me tell you about all the people that are going to be here. Let me tell you about Chris. Yeah? And they start to try to manipulate, not necessarily negatively, but they start to try to tell you stories about the people and what they're like and why they're here.
They try and paint the picture. Yeah.
They try to prime you so that when you get there, you can't see what's there. You can see what other people are telling you. So I would say, 1, seek first to understand, then to be understood. 2, discount everything that people tell you and try to make your own judgment about what's going on. And it's so fascinating. Imagine that we're going to meet Sabrina and Katrina and Brian.
Yeah, Sabrina, Katrina and Brian.
Yeah, imagine that you're going to be trying to be their boss.
Yeah.
And I start saying to you, oh, by the way, when you meet Sabrina and Katrina and Brian, just remember Brian is a bit of a nightmare. He's having a tricky time at the moment. He hasn't been that good. He's his work's really not where it should be. And Sabrina's actually brilliant. She's one of the best people we've ever hired. She's absolutely phenomenal. And everything she touches turns to gold. What's going to happen to you when you go into that situation?
I'm going to treat Brian differently to Sabrina, aren't I?
Yeah. And are you going to get the best out of Brian, do you think?
I think it might even be more difficult because I've got this presupposition about.
Do you think you're going to give Brian a best start and listen empathetically to what he's got to say and just take him as a person, a human being without any biases?
I'm already thinking about letting him go.
Yeah. And what about Sabrina?
She's staying.
Yeah. So, and also you'll weight her opinion more highly because she's been recommended to you. So I would, if you're going in, if you're taking over a new team, I would 100% pretend to listen to the people from HR or maybe say to them, do you know what? Thank you. If you could write that down, that'd be great. I'm going to take my own view. I want to go and take my own view.
Yeah.
And the top leaders I work with, they do that. When they take over a new team, they probably give themselves 30 days or maybe 60 days or whatever, and go in and say, I'm just going to listen, I'm going to watch. And I think through that process, you gain acceptance to the group. And you may be criticized for not making an impression or whatever, depends how fast moving your business is.
Yeah.
But the first thing you've got to do if you take over a new team, you've got to have a bit of an understanding and to do so, if possible, through a kind of an appreciative inquiry and taking people at face value.
That's really helpful, I think.
Are you going to take over a new team?
If I do, I'll bear that in mind.
Chris, I think you'd be excellent at that, Chris.
Well, if I need any other teams, other circles, sign me up.
Pods, squads?
Yeah, other pods, squads.
Okay.
Yeah, that will be helpful. Before we wrap up the podcast, Jonna, tell me more about how we're helping teams spark.
Well, we run many, many team buildings every year. And it's a great, great pleasure. Sometimes people use the expression intact teams, as in we go and work with the whole team intact as one thing. And I have had many, many highlights. The great thing about these annual away days or strategy days or team building days, they need to be memorable as well. So you could just talk about what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to get it done. But it's also introspective. It's for people to dive into a bit the personalities. And I'm thinking actually of somewhere we've done things like make TV programs together, cook together. One team building I ran, we made music together, but not just made music with instruments. We wrote songs.
Wow.
And then performed them in a recording studio. And we had to market our album and get on the radio within 2 days and make £10,000 for charity. High in a Swiss mountain, we carved ice, sang songs, went on walks, we had meals with blindfolds so we couldn't see what we were doing. So part of it is like having an experience.
Yeah, that sounds really memorable.
Really memorable.
I don't think you'd easily forget about those kind of experiences.
But then the other part is going into how do things work around here and maybe some of the problems. And I love being in the waiting room of change, trying to undress the masked problems and bringing them to people to say, if you chose to, you could overcome this together. Or you could ignore / box it off unspoken, and then you could not enjoy your work so much for the next year.
Yeah, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Which should you choose?
Well, many people want to box it off, especially if they're English.
Easier to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So trying to move from polite into a real team dynamic. Sometimes people say storming, norming, performing. That's not my preferred method, but to think through how we progress beyond polite to some kind of high performing stage. There's a bit in the middle where we've got to get through the tricky bit, and that's
that valley.
The valley.
Can you move through and hit the next peak?
Through the valley.
It's an exciting thing that we get to do. It's walk with people on that adventure.
Such a pleasure. And the third component I didn't mention was leaders setting a vision or having a vision or a target or a goal.
Yeah.
It could be leaders setting, but it could be what is the team one? Where do we think we can get to? And I have found also that the teams tend to be more ambitious than leaders. So if you were to properly run a day, we ask the team, let's say you're trying to do a sales target and the leader has in mind they want to get to 8 million. If you properly ask the team, they might come up with 10 million. And it's a great pleasure to then help leaders work through that kind of process where there's a bottom-up kind of motivation for the goal. And they can, again, step back and say, well, guys, I'm going to support you in that, not let me take you there. Yeah.
What I heard from what you were just saying was that the team is really important for setting the goal and setting the vision and establishing what we can achieve together as a team. And it comes back to what we were saying about how we think that that's probably the leader's job, and yet the ambition might sit within the team.
Yeah, I'm quickly rewriting the agenda for our management meeting this afternoon as we speak.
Yeah.
I could get the team to come up with those things.
And so maybe the secret to teamwork is teamwork.
Oh, Chris. Is that that's what we come to?
Yeah, that's what we come to.
There isn't a secret to teamwork apart from the secret to teamwork.
Which is teamwork.
Use
your team to unlock teamwork.
Other people, not a problem, but a brilliant part of work.
Yeah, a powerhouse.
Chris, this has been an absolute pleasure.
This has been great. Jonna, thank you for joining me. Through teamwork, we've made this podcast happen.
This podcast will be a lot worse without teamwork because there'll be no one to film it.
Yeah, exactly. Got Sam behind the camera.
Thanks, Sam.
There's a hidden team.
Editors.
Yeah.
social media promoters,
graphics,
the people who made YouTube,
yeah,
the people who made Spotify.
Thank you to all those people.
Thank you to the entire group of people that made the internet.
There we go.
Cameras.
Thank you to all.
Microphones.
What a team.
I could go on.
Yeah. But thank you very much for listening to this episode. If you have enjoyed it, if you enjoyed this teamwork, use a bit of teamwork. We need you in this team. Are we a team? A group?
Group.
An audience?
I don't think we're a team yet with our subscriber
We're not a team.
base. No.
No. But if you want to be part of Team Sparks, then like, reply.
If you want to become a sparkler.
Yeah, sparkler. Is that the word for anyone listening in? You're a sparkler.
Become a sparkler. We need 10,000 likes.
I don't think we need 10,000 likes.
10 likes.
You can subscribe to this wherever you get your podcasts. That's true.
Subscribe.
Broadly.
Sparklers, we know you're out there.
Subscriber places. And yeah, give it a little review. That helps.
Wunderbug.
Thank you, Jonna.
Thank you, Chris. See you next time.
Thanks for watching this video by Interactive Workshops. Give it a like down below and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. Click through to here or here to watch another video by Interactive Workshops.